Alison Rosen is your new best friend. Alison, with her good times never end. Alison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Alison's your new best friend.
Hey everyone, hi, hello, welcome to another exciting episode of Alison Rosen is your new best friend. I am sitting here in Pod Cabin in California, in America, no longer in Japan. I haven't been there for a little while, but I feel like maybe mentally I'm still there, except I'm not, but I'm not here. I don't know where I am. Let's find out together on this episode, which also features my husband, Daniel. Hello.
Hi.
How's it going? You are doing some furious chewing.
I know I wanted to have a bite to eat before because I was hungry.
Now, is this still one of the protein bars that you bought in Japan?
No, this is one of the protein bars that taste good.
I appreciate your commitment to not wasting money, I suppose, because you bought a bunch of protein bars there. You're like, these are terrible. And then you brought them all home.
I was concerned that I wouldn't be getting enough protein because I've been exercising and, you don't want to lose your gains.
But is that what happens if you, let's say you exercise a lot and then you don't eat protein for a little while? Do your muscles instantly deflate?
It did not used to be the case when I was young, but I have found that at my age, the rate of deterioration is rapid.
Daniel's biohacking, you guys. Yeah, I don't think you understand.
I'm just trying to He
has special clothing that he puts on. Then he goes out.
Workout clothing.
Yeah, but I only see it when you work out. And then he comes home.
Well, yeah. He's
slick and sweaty. Sometimes he's chewing gum. That's a Daniel I don't know. The gum chewing Daniel. He's got one earbud in, that's kind of always. That's him. Sometimes he's got a little fuzzy headband on, and then he's like making protein drinks early in the morning and late at night. There's a lot of emphasis on protein. There's supplements, various supplements, not like Jack's where they had to dump his pills in the sink. He's not juicing or anything, but there's various powders and things. Tell them Elliot's reaction last night. Was it last night or 2 nights ago?
Well, I went for a jog and I came home. I didn't have time to take a shower. And I was brushing his teeth and he just recoiled. And he's like, "What's that smell?" And I was like, "Son, one day you too will stink when you sweat."
But then when you guys came in the room, like to get ready to read books and stuff, he still had questions about it.
Well, he was worried because I lay down next to him to read books. But I had put on deodorant.
But he was like, he wanted to understand a little more. Like he was just mystified and baffled that a human could smell like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I'm trying to be healthy and maintain my strength.
Mm-hmm.
And I just turned 51 for the love of God. And so I'm just trying to, hold back the Grim Reaper.
I'm sorry. How old did you turn?
51, honey. Yeah. And so I'm not like, you make me sound like I'm, with all the supplements and everything.
Like Rick Roll?
Yeah. Like I'm Jax. But it's really just, trying to, whatever. Why am I getting defensive?
You know what?
I feel like there's a lot of, let me just say something.
All right.
I feel like there's a lot of stigma attached to a certain type of guy who's like doing creatine and protein. But
are you doing creatine and protein?
Yes, but what I'm saying is that stigma, it's like you should be eating, if you're exercising, you should be eating enough protein to get the most out of your exercise, regardless of whatever kind of exercise you do. What's the point if you're thinking about strength in doing all the exercise and then not giving your body what it needs to build the muscle?
Yes.
It's sort of pointless. And so anyway, in Japan, I was like, it's not a protein forward diet in Japan. Like, yes, they have sushi, but like it's a lot of carbs. And so I thought, they had a great gym in the place we're staying. And so I thought, I'm going to get some some powder or some protein bars, just so that I can, and I learned that in Japan, they don't really give a shit about protein at all. That yes, you can get like protein powder, but it's like very low protein relative to what you can get here.
Mm-hmm.
And the protein bars are fucking disgusting.
And the ones here aren't that good either. So
some of them are actually pretty good.
Okay.
But even the ones that aren't good here are better than the best ones you'd get in Japan. I don't know why they can't make a good protein bar there.
How would you describe the quality or the flavor
They're
of
just
it?
not trying to make them yummy. It's like kind of a chore. They're sort of dry in your mouth, so you just go. And
Like
yeah,
the rice I made last night.
exactly. And but I bought a couple boxes. They weren't expensive, but I thought, I'll have them around in case of a pinch. In a pinch, I'll eat one or whatever. But I can't bring myself to.
I need. Oh.
But I would like to say this, Japan. Maybe you should, think about protein a little more, bulking up. I think culturally they just don't have that aesthetic.
We have some notes for Japan. That should be a segment.
It's a cultural aesthetic.
Write this down.
Here in the United States, generally, I think look, if you're Japanese, you want to correct me on this, please do. But this is just my observation. I think that like the ideal male physique or the ideal female physique it's different culturally there than it is here.
It's Japanese there.
Well, besides the fact that it should be a Japanese person, it's just like not focused on muscle and strength. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
Whereas in the United States, it's like too much the other direction.
Yeah.
Like the ideal male physique in most people's minds is like He-Man or something. Like like me.
Yeah,
When you see
Daniel,
me with my
He-Man,
shirt off.
Daniel. I need to issue a correction. I said Rick Roll earlier. You're like Rick Roll, and you nodded. Did you know who I mean?
I wasn't listening to you.
Okay, I meant Rich Roll. Do you know who that is? Your mom bought you one of his books.
I don't know.
He is an ultra athlete. He's a vegan ultra endurance
that
athlete and full-time wellness and plant-based nutrition. He's not big looking, but he's into like anti-aging he's 57 and he runs and he's muscly and plant-based.
I think with the anti-aging stuff, there's a lot of like eye rolling, but that's going to become more and more mainstream.
Yeah.
Because the science is getting better and better.
So when I said Rick Roll, I'm like, wait, no, that's when you get Rick rolled.
Yeah,
but it's Rich Roll, which is a very similar name. Okay. So listen, we have a lot to get to. We have a new segment. We have calls. We need an update on. I'm barely hanging on health-wise, you guys. We might have to do a GoFundMe so that I can get more Tylenol. And then also, we need to talk about our first week, Sans childcare. We're raising our children ourselves, which is completely unnatural. And then let's just get into our very questionable notes for Japan segment, which I just decided we need to do. Okay. We've already gone through a couple of these. However, here they are. Napkins. Yeah. Hey, Japan. Are you just very unmessy? What are you doing about spilling food on yourselves, on your face? Because I saw 0.0 napkins. You guys are into giving people a wet wipe to wipe your hands, a hot towel, but really it's more like a wet wipe before you eat. How do you clean yourself up after? Because zip napkins. A. B. I mean, I don't want to tell you how to do things, but maybe let people take their food to go. At least let me take my food to go. I don't like a culture. I mean, that's a little extreme, but I would have preferred to be able to take my food to go. The only time I felt that someone was rude to me was when I asked, and they probably thought I was rude by asking. I just didn't know.
I just wonder if there have been some high profile food poisoning things that made
but I don't
stop doing that.
Get the sense that it used to be that you could take it to go.
I think
go ahead.
I think it's a society where if if something happens, there's like a mass change. It's easier to make changes like that there than it would be
Maybe.
here. So things like no trash cans
on the street.
on the
I
streets,
know.
I think is partly a result of the fact. I think there was like a bomb once found in a trash can,
really?
and so they were just like, okay, no more trash cans.
Privileges revoked. I have
In
to
this
say-
country, if there was a bomb in a trash can, it would be like, half the country would be like pro
bombs and
more
cans.
trash can. We want more
Yeah,
trash can. It would be
right.
stupid.
The only way to fight a trash can with a bomb is another trash can with a bomb.
Right.
I actually didn't really mind the lack of public trash cans.
Yeah, because we weren't out there making lots of trash. It's
Right.
like-
I appreciated how clean everything was. And also, they have special dog poop bags. Did we talk about these?
although
It's
these are good for environmental reasons, but I don't like I didn't like using them. But yes, go ahead.
I brought them home.
Great.
I've even used them a couple times here. So not to disagree with you.
That's fine. It's a personal preference.
So the outer layer of the bag is plastic, and the inner layer of the bag is like that's where the napkins are. They're
They're all
inside the poop.
So
it's
everyone
a
buys poop
napkin.
bags?
Yeah, it's a napkin, and you turn it inside out, and then you pick up the poop, and
With the
then you
napkin
tie it
part.
up. Yeah. And then you get back to your home or hotel, and you open up the plastic, and you dump the paper-covered poop in your toilet.
Right.
People aren't dumping their dog poop in trash cans, the non-existent trash cans. They're flushing it.
I think it's probably overall a better way to do it.
Right.
But I don't like the revisiting of the poop. Like I don't
Reunion.
Yeah, the reunion part is not my favorite.
Right. Okay. So we got to go, napkins, protein was yours, and then I have one more, and this one I think could get me canceled and kicked off of my new position as the newest comic on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Deodorant.
Oh, well, yeah, say what you're going to say, and then I have some thoughts.
Okay, so Daniel had told me before we went that Japanese people, or I feel like I don't know if you can say all Japanese people.
Just
but
say
in Japanese,
culturally.
culturally, it's rude if you have a scent on you.
They don't
it's
like
rude to
strong
wear perfume
scents.
or cologne. They don't like strong scents. It interferes with the food, and I can get behind all that.
Well, it's not just food. Like if you go to a restaurant, you're wearing perfume, people will be offended because smelling the food is part of the experience. But also just like if you're on the subway and you smell it, they'll think they're just not a culture that appreciates strongly scented deodorant or perfume or whatever.
Right. Okay. So I heard all of that. And then when I was there, now it was the dead hot hell of August. And I am used to international funk, like public transportation.
You lived in New
And-
York, in case people weren't aware, where international funk.
Isn't even what I was thinking about.
I think international funk started there
Maybe. I mean, there's a certain smell
before
in
they
the
became the police
in the subway
in the 70s.
and in taxis. But I was thinking actually of like the tube or the metro, not to lord it over you that I've been around Europe and I've taken public transportation, but there is a certain BO stench. It like crosses BO, it goes into musk, and it's almost like a little bit like curry. It's not bad, but it's very, very thick and intense.
When you say curry, now you're talking about a specific, like,
I'm not talking about Indian people.
well, because a French
No,
person who's doesn't have that background is not going to have a curry tinge to their BO.
I think they might. It's
No.
a body smell. I don't think it has to do with what you're eating. I'm saying
I do.
there's a certain spiciness that comes to your BO.
Well, there is a sharp, like, that comes from like bad BO. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not talking. That was a poor choice of words because I'm not associating it with any one culture. I'm associating it with that level of BO in that heat. And
Diet can change the smell. Like if I eat a bunch of garlic
Okay.
and I go to the gym the next day, I'm going to smell garlicky. My sweat is going to smell garlicky.
Okay, fine. I take it back. I don't know exactly what it is. All I'm saying is I encountered a fair amount of European continental BO in Japan.
I think it's just BO, human BO.
I'm kind of joking.
Uh,
My antiseptic, sanitized American sensibilities would have preferred a waft of secret strong enough for a man, made for a woman, or whatever it's called, or like, oh, is that shower fresh? Oh, is that sport? Is that powder fresh? But instead it's like, oh, this person is heavily sweating and it might not have taken a shower for a few days. It was very thick with BO in a lot of places.
So
one more thing. And it would be confusing too, because it's one thing on the train, but it's another thing when you're at a hotel and you're talking to people and they're all wearing suits and they're like really put together, but it's still really strong.
Yeah. The crazy thing is how
Pungent?
covered up they were in the middle of the fucking hottest I've ever been.
Right.
Like, girls on the subway wearing sweaters. Like, what are you doing?
Also, they weren't sweating like pigs like we were.
No, they weren't sweaty.
They acclimated.
I remember from when I was in Japan the first time when I was like 13. In Japan they had. I remember there was like a radio station. See, this is like 30 years ago, so maybe things are different.
Probably.
But there were like radio stations where, like talk radio in Japan, where the conversation, the purpose of the radio station was, this is what I was told, was basically to talk about they had a word for it, what it means to be Japanese. It's this like interest in what it means to be Japanese, and so it enforces a kind of conformity, and and it's important to them to like fit in and be be Japanese, but along with that there can be a kind of xenophobia. It's not like, it doesn't come off as hateful. But
it's insular.
But just sort of like, hey, we're kind of better than other people, and
in many ways they are, though.
Well, I'm not saying they're wrong.
Yeah. At least in veterinary care.
I think anytime you're in a society where it's very homogeneous. I've still got COVID brain. There's gonna be that feeling. So I mean, I'm just saying. But part of that, I recall, is that they thought that Westerners had a funk, and they didn't like the smell of Westerners.
Oh. What is our smell?
I don't know, but can I just say, like, hey, Japanese people, you're human too. Y'all have a funk too.
Yeah.
Like, if you think that you don't, you're just used to it.
Oh, you have nose blindness.
Yeah, like
your whole country is nose blind.
Yeah, it was just as the stink was the same as you would find in New York or Paris or wherever.
Turns out all pits smell the same in the summer.
Yeah. So things may have changed in Japan since then. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that sort of thing. So maybe it doesn't exist anymore.
I wonder if they're just keeping it on a down low. Well, you and I were talking a little bit about the need. Okay, look, you and I are the Jane Goodall of having been to Japan once and then having opinions. Like,
I've been twice, so you can kiss my ass.
Well, I was talking about myself. I was using the royal we when I said you and I. Okay. The three of us, you and I and you.
But what I'm saying is I am an expert having gone
twice. Well, I'm like PhD level, and you're like practicing. That's not what I'm like MA level.
Okay.
Who cares?
You're like a teacher's assistant. And I'm
but I think I'm smarter than I am.
And I'm the professor.
Thank you very much. So anyway, there doesn't seem to be this need that we have as Americans to express ourselves and particularly express our individuality. I think that seems
I'm not going to say there isn't a need, but there isn't they're not allowed to as much. There's an enforced conformity. Go
Did
ahead.
you learn that when you're on your second time there?
I'm just gonna say I can't peer into their hearts and know what they want or what they.
There doesn't seem to be a value placed on it. On the contrary, there's So whereas, and that's like my whole thing. This podcast, my Patreon. Did I mention I have a Patreon? My Substack, all of that is me yelling into the void, being like, "This is me. This is me."
I would say,
and there's much, and you see that in the decoration or the lack of decoration there,
decoration
and other stuff,
or lack of decoration. Oh, you mean like on the walls and stuff?
Mm-hmm. The decor.
The decor, yeah. I think it cuts both ways.
Mm.
There's the part of it where you're like, everyone's conforming, and there's this sort of no one feels comfortable. Like, no, I don't want to say no one. There are exceptions, but the exceptions are interesting because they kind of almost prove the rule. But like, there is like if you go into a clothing store in Japan, the color palette is extremely narrow, like, and very muted.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere we went, it was just like beiges and it's just a very like muted
I
color
noticed
palette.
this. And then you're like, that guy has bright green pants. Remember that?
Yeah. So in your face.
In your face.
For the most part, there is this like, and like all school children wear uniforms.
What's weird is I saw school children in uniforms on the weekend running for the subway, and I don't understand.
Right. I don't know. But, you go to Harajuku or something, and you've got, like, all the kids wearing
all the backup dancers from
all the
Gwen
crazy
Stefani's
outfits. But, like, even then, there is a range of sort of, they're all, like, cosplayers in a sense, doing anime cosplay. It's almost like they've carved out this area where you can be free to be more expressive, but it's like still within a kind of contained. I don't know. It's but the good side of that.
I'm sure there's a scene, and I'm sure there's an underground. I'm sure there's tons of stuff that we didn't see. But merely scratched the surface.
Good side of that is it creates a very cohesive and functional society where people are considerate of one another.
Right.
Nobody wants to be the person that's holding up the line. No one wants to be, the one that's talking too loud. No one wants to be, you know what I mean? Like
Alison.
So it's like so it creates a very like, okay, everything sort of works here and everyone is going along with the plan. Whereas here, you can, it almost becomes like a thumb in your eye. Everyone is like trying to like, fuck you, I'm going to be like, and you're not going to tell me what to do. We're in that kind of society.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone, you've got this whole like movement to be contrarian, which creates discord and makes things difficult. So it's a trade-off. I guess I prefer this because I'm more comfortable with it. But with that comes all the fucking shit that I hate. So whatever.
Yeah, but we were pretty happy to be back.
I find that to be really stifling, and I don't know. But I appreciate it. Like, I appreciate Japan. It's not for DQ.
I also think we're trying to make sense of the fact that we walked away from there being like, I do not think I need to go back for a long time. I did not fall in love with it in the way that so many people have. Even though there's a lot of parts I appreciated about it. I just think we didn't go there for pleasure. We didn't stay in the part of town that we would have stayed in if we had gone for pleasure, and we all got COVID. So I think our perceptions are colored by all of that quite a bit. That being said, we might still have had the same reaction.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think neither of us have any kind of fascination with Japanese culture.
Although you got one in these past many months.
I'm
of learning.
interested in it. I'm interested in it, but I don't I don't watch anime.
Right.
I don't like the aesthetic of manga and stuff. Like, it's just not for me. I appreciate it. I don't denigrate it, but it's just not for me. So I'm not going in like, oh my God, let's go to the fucking, Sailor Moon museum or whatever. Like, I don't, there's a manga shop or something. I don't, and that's like a big part of it. And then, Japanese history is really cool. I enjoyed Shogun, but I'm not like, oh my God, there's an Edo museum over there. We can see all the like samurai armor or whatever. It's just like, so without that, then it just becomes restaurants and shops
and animal clinics. And I do,
for me, it's just like,
I do very much appreciate their excellence in most everything they do. I mean, I appreciate that I appreciate the surgery that Wendy was able to have, which they can't do in this country yet.
The service,
and the care she got.
The service is the best you'll have anywhere in the world because they have an attitude of like, no matter what job you do, you're expected to be the best at it, and that's amazing.
Well, I heard a story of someone saying that their dog had idiopathic something or other. Do you know what idiopathic means? It means they don't know what's causing it. Let me make sure I am saying this correctly, but sometimes you'll have a condition and they just don't know why it's there. Idiopathic describes it. So this is from NCI. Describes a disease of unknown cause. Yeah. So she said that her dog had idiopathic something, and then the vet in Japan said that just means a vet didn't do their job. Like they don't even like it's accepted that. Like my dad had a situation where he was bleeding out under his skin many years ago, and it was called idiopathic thrombocytopenia or something. I think
they just didn't know,
or maybe that was what Dawson had. I don't know. They just didn't know. They don't know what causes it. And in Japan, they're like, that's unacceptable. We will find out what causes it, which is crazy. That anyway. And then also, my hair guy who straightens my hair. Hey. So I owe so much to Japanese culture, saving Wendy's life, straightening my hair. Because the hair straightening that I do is Japanese straightening. It's Yuko thermal reconditioning, created in Japan. And he's Japanese. And he will make comments like, he's unapologetically, he grew up in Torrance. Well, Japan and then Torrance. Like, he's unapologetically Japanist. So he bought some Samsung products and he's like, never again. I will only buy Japanese from now on. And he only wants to buy Japanese, but he'll make comments about like, American hairstylists, they just don't know. Yeah. A lot of stuff that has to do with like the chemistry of different things. Yeah.
There's a pride in just being an expert and being really, really good, which is why, there's so many Michelin starred restaurants in Tokyo and why like, it's just there. But I don't know. I'm just so torn about it all. Like, I don't know that I want to continue learning Japanese because I don't know that I really intend to ever go back. Now I'm forgetting what I was going to say about it all. Fucking goddamn it. I've become stupid in the last 2 weeks. Just stupid. Like, Elliot has this game where it's, for kids, of course, and it's called like 5-second rule. And you're supposed to.
Do you guys play that last night?
And you pick a card, and you say like to the other person, you have a timer. You say the other person has 5 seconds to name 3 whatever is on the card.
Items in the refrigerator.
Yeah, and they're like easy. And he picked one for me, and it was like name 5 movies. I was like The Godfather, and I just drew a blank.
Oh my God.
I was I like majored in film. like I couldn't think of 3 movies. Now, am I so stupid that I can't name 3 movies?
Seems that way.
I guess I am. So forgive me for forget it. I'm just really dumb right now.
He couldn't name 3 things you study in school. One of them was Apple.
Well, he's a kid, though.
I know. I wondered if you guys were making the game easier, like it's actually named 5, because it seemed so doable.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say.
Okay.
No, I forgot again. Wait a minute. Oh. I wonder if maybe one of the reasons why the experience of Japan was so cold is because the people themselves were so cold. When we went to France, my whole life, all you hear about is how rude the French are. Oh my God, they're the rudest people. They're so rude. They're so rude. And we get to Paris and they were lovely.
Yeah.
They were so friendly. So I did not have the experience. Now, I know my mom has had a very interesting, like rude, typically French rude experience.
In Paris or somewhere
No, but it was
else?
outside of
Yeah.
Paris. I'm just wondering if it's outside of the city.
Probably.
But I was like, I love this city. I love these people. This is great, but in Japan, everyone is so formal.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is so like,
And they also don't value small talk, which as an introvert you'd think you'd appreciate, but when you travel, small talk is kind
but
of
also
nice.
I think English is even though apparently they all take English throughout, grade school, none of them know it. Or
Well,
very
they
few
say
people.
they don't, but then they know a little.
Yeah, but it's like the weird thing is English is everywhere, and yet they barely know it,
Right.
and it's as hard for them to learn English as Japanese is hard for us. So I think there's a lot of like, in addition to it not being a culture of like small talk and
Openness.
warmth and openness, they also see a Westerner and are just like, because they don't want to have to like.
Remember.
I saw a thing where it's like Japanese people basically think all Western people, all they do is want to know where things are. Because their only interactions with Westerners are like, can you tell me where this is or where that is?
Wait, did you see that before we went? Is that why you didn't want to ask anyone where things were?
No.
Okay.
No. But I don't know. And then when I would try to speak Japanese, sometimes I got a good reaction, which was nice, where they appreciated it. Like
I appreciated it.
often, if I went up and started to speak Japanese, they would appreciate it. But sometimes, kind of toward the back half of the trip, I found that I was getting more and more people who were like, would see me and try, and if they spoke English, they would just be like, they would just say some English to me, like they wouldn't appreciate it, and it was almost as though it made me feel like they thought I was
A loser from home?
no, that I was being condescending or something.
Oh, really?
Like I was like,
That's weird.
like if you had a skill, but I didn't like want it. I didn't appreciate the fact that you had that skill, or I assumed you didn't. Like they could speak English, but I'm sitting there insisting on speaking Japanese. It's like, I speak English, motherfucker.
I see where you feel that way, but I was told that it's like if you make the effort, they really appreciate that.
Most of the time that's the case. Anyway,
Let's shift.
I want to move on. What I'm saying
to
though
America.
is that I am eager to go to Europe because it's just I think my next trip I don't want it to be as different.
Yeah.
It's like
I can't
too
believe you're
different.
even thinking of a next trip.
Well, I mean, it's going to be in 1,000 years, but
Yeah.
I want to go to like Italy. I want to go to Vienna, Germany, the place of my ancestors. I want to go somewhere where everyone looks exactly like me.
Exactly. Someday, I do miss Hawaii. I am not eager to travel again.
When I travel again, it's going to be alone. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anyone from this house.
You can go there, yeah. All right. So today is Friday. We're 1 week into school. Elliot's in second grade. Owen's in kindergarten. I didn't really talk about it at all, but we no longer have childcare. We do have a couple babysitters coming next week because we have a couple things that we need them for in the evenings. But we used to have regular childcare, not full time, but regular. And we don't have that anymore so that we can afford to take our dog to Japan, but also just because in general, we just can't afford it. And also we don't need it as much.
But
I think,
but also we can't afford it.
yeah,
It's a bit of a luxury.
totally. It was kind of one of those things where I think if it had been up to us, we would have stayed in a more casual, we have it sometimes setting. And then she was a little more like, if you're not going steady with me, then I have to find someone who can give me what I want, which I understand.
Yeah.
So it was a little more abrupt than we would have chosen if it was up to us, but it has forced us to step up. And it's been, and I know there's people listening who've perhaps never had regular childcare and they're thinking, get fucked, which I understand. So I say, if this is unrelatable, it's got to be relatable.
Well,
because
look,
people who work
we
have
are
childcare.
hold on. Really, it's you stepping up because
Yeah,
I can't. I work all day. There's
Right.
not a whole lot more I could do.
Mhm.
And it's forced you to have to like not do as much of some things and condense things into different hours. You've had to move your schedule around. The point is, you work.
Yeah,
You're just more flexible,
Right.
and you can make it sort of work. Although it's going to get harder.
I know.
We didn't have childcare because we're just lazy. We had childcare because it allowed you to focus on your work stuff, and I simply don't have a choice. Just because
Right.
I work from home doesn't mean that I don't work all
Right.
day. So I think anyone where there's a they have childcare. You have to.
Right.
It's
Or
just
you have your kids in
I think
daycare,
maybe they take them to daycare or something, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So we now, like I said, we're raw dogging parenthood. So I have been pushing my recordings to the time that they're in school. And then when they get home, I have been taking care of them, which is pretty crazy, making them dinner and stuff. Daniel's been bathing them because I have paper thin hands and I cannot be in the
Her
water
hands
that
dissolve
long.
in water. They're like,
It's very,
they're
very
like bath bombs.
inconvenient. Yeah, sometimes there's rose petals in them.
Oh.
And they fizz around and change colors. It's very inconvenient, but it's been more okay than I thought it was, because in the past, like during COVID, when we couldn't have any childcare, for at the beginning of it, we were drowning a little bit, and I don't feel like we're drowning, knock on wood. So that has been nice to realize that it's like, I think this is going to be okay. That being said, I have not, I had been doing my Substack pretty regularly, like a few times a week, and I haven't done that this week. And I'm like, oh shit, that's what's falling through the cracks. And I'm going to pick it up. But also I have COVID and I've had COVID all week. So I'm excited to see how much I can get done when I don't feel like I'm dying.
Yeah.
I think that's been a large part of this week.
the fact that you've managed with COVID, I think, is it's awesome.
Well,
You're
I
doing
was,
great.
I've been thinking about what I'll talk about this week on the show. This week, I've been thinking about that, and I was thinking how I would talk about how we should congratulate ourselves that it's gone okay. But as of today, I do feel like, have you ever made espresso?
Yeah, of course. What do you mean?
I don't mean with a pod. I mean with like an espresso maker.
I used to have a kind of cheap espresso machine.
Okay, so you know how you like tamp down the grounds?
Yeah.
You just tamp them down. And then at the end, when you lift the thing up and there's just this compressed grounds in the bottom.
That's how you feel.
That's how I feel. I feel like compressed grounds. I feel like ass. I feel, when I was walking through the airport after arriving back in America, and I was thinking, does everyone feel this way after travel? Or is it just people who fly in an overhead cabin? Like if you fly in one of those pods, laid back seats, are you just like, and there's like classical music playing and birds flying around and stuff when you land, or do you still feel horrendous? I feel a little bit like that. I think part of it is that I'm not getting enough sleep. Wendy, who has to be crated, she's fine during the day, and then at night she howls and whines.
Yeah. This is the problem. It's like she now is getting fully oxygenated blood
Yeah.
into her brain in a way she hasn't since she was a puppy. And so
she's like a rubber band pulled back.
So she wants to just when we
Tear
open
it
her
up.
crate, she bolts out of there and she is fucking ready to go. But the problem is
She can't.
She can't because her heart still has to heal.
Yeah.
And if she overexerts herself, it could open up the incision. And so we're having to keep her contained at a time when that is
Not what she
and so
wants.
she has been making noises we have never heard.
It's
like
so
she's
hard to
inventing
hear.
she's inventing new expressive tones. It's wild.
Yeah. And it's really tough emotionally to ignore it, but I just keep remembering the sheet that says she has to be on strict crate rest. And we've even let her move around a little more than we should. But it's just like, to protect her health. And then also I just, from a mathematical standpoint, to protect our investment, like how fucking stupid would we be if we spent all this money to do this surgery and then we let her
like run around and fuck it up.
Inhibit. Yeah. And then my mind goes like wild thinking, well, if she does pop a stitch or something, will she die immediately? Will it be like, how does that even work? And I get very up in my head about it. So it's like, this is for her own good that we have to listen to the sound, but I don't know how you sleep through it. So I have been taken to going and sleeping on the couch. We have a couch in our like family room, and then we have a front room that we don't use that much. And I go sleep on that couch. But then, so I went to sleep on that couch at like 2, and then all of a sudden Owen was on me.
Oh, he came in?
He does it every night. That's why I'm dying. Did you not know that he comes out and finds me every night? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That's why I am yesterday.
Because when I went to bed last night, he was in our bed.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So I just assumed he stayed there all night.
I sure wish. No, every night he comes and finds me like at 4:45 a.m. or something. So he came and he's like, "Mommy, I want to snuggle. I want to snuggle with you." So then it's like Rose and Jack on that raft, except if she had let him get on there, which there probably would have been room for. So then we try to find a way to like puzzle our bodies onto the couch.
Jack should have tried to get on there.
Probably.
At least try. Dude.
Yeah. So I was like, why don't you put your head at the other far end of the couch and put your legs up here? And he said something which I thought showed more awareness of other people than sometimes he has. He's like, "Is this comfortable for you?" It's like a foot in my nose. Is this comfortable? Like, does this feel good for you, Mommy? And I said, yes. But so then I like turn to the side and like try to Tetris myself and try to get comfortable.
Yeah, it's tough.
Should I go on?
I'm worried that this will
15
go on
more
long.
minutes.
Yeah.
I realize I'm circling in place. It's not comfortable and I can't sleep is my point. So I feel like I'm dying.
It's going to catch up to you, I guess. Maybe
it has caught up to me.
Yeah. So maybe sleep.
So I need some sleep this weekend.
Yeah.
If possible.
Yeah. Should we do not complaining? I feel like all we've done is complain this whole show.
That would be a novel idea. I suppose we could do not complaining. Should we do our new segment?
We can, although I don't know how much. Well, let's just see how it goes.
All right, listen. We don't have a theme song yet. We're hoping to have one. Tony. This is called This Week on TikTok, a.k.a. TWOTT.
Awesome
Good
stuff.
It's good stuff. Okay, so yeah.
The idea here is
please,
with
please take over, please.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I want to hear what.
Well, I was going to say the idea here isn't to canvas all of TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what's going on your algorithm.
Yeah. What has your algorithm been serving you?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and we have a call, but we're going to do our own, but then we also have some of yours.
Oh, nice.
Hey, guys. This is Kimmy. I am calling to share my...
Oh, and I have to say, it doesn't have to be TikTok. It can be any of the...
Just your algorithms.
Platforms, yeah.
My algorithm. I have my Instagram algorithm on a perfect solution right now. All unlikely animal friends, because how can you not love an elephant and a golden lab being best friends? Really, really funny comedians. Oh, a lot of Olympic stuff right now and a lot of music stuff. So I have my algorithm set perfectly. It makes me very happy. Anyways, hope you guys are well. Again, this is Kimmy from Portland. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
It's interesting.
Oh, that's so good.
The Instagram algorithm does tend towards making you happy. I put in quotes because it's not just, whereas the Threads algorithm, I feel like, tends towards making you angry. Maybe
Mine does. Mine makes me angry.
Yeah.
My Threads algorithm is now just showing me stuff about Christopher Nolan. Did you follow that?
No.
Oh my God, it's so good. There's this account that offers the worst advice to people in Hollywood. That's not the premise of it. But
They're not like
unreal.
bad advice.
No, it's not. No, and it's like, it's so bad that it seems like a bot. Let me see. It seems like AI wrote it. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, I can't find the original, but the advice is like, in Los Angeles, you never know who you're going to run into. Let's say you run into Christopher Nolan at Whole Foods. Now, the standard advice would be, don't bother someone, but I say shoot your shot. Carry paper and a pen with you so you can like submit a letter to him. Let him ask him for feedback on your script. Like all this stuff that is just
terrible advice.
It's so bad. So all these people are just clowning on this original
Okay, good
thing. I just love the idea that like you're gonna get your film made by asking for advice. So now most people are just like, Christopher Nolan is never going to Whole Foods ever again, is he?
I mean, I doubt he ever did.
Maybe
or he
not.
had, but yeah, like that's I'm trying to think. Is there a scenario where that could work? I mean,
No.
the thing to understand is that they're constantly being pitched shit
Right.
everywhere, and so they're going to assume that your pitch is shit, that you're shit. Because
I think they legally can't take them either.
well, there's a legal issue,
Yeah.
which is like if you submit something that is unsolicited without an agent or whatever, they could get sued if, like, say for example, it's similar to something they already have in development.
Right.
So there's lots of legal reasons why that's not a good idea for them. They need to protect it. But also, it's like, I think people don't understand how much how much your idea, a great idea, is like not that big a deal
Right.
in terms of what makes something great. Like the idea is almost like the least important part of it. The thing that makes something great is the talent of the writers and the people who make it, the storytellers, the execution of it. It's like if I told you, oh, it's a show about a bunch of friends in New York. That's the concept. Like that doesn't. Everyone's got an idea. There's this thing that was pissing me off. Colin Kaepernick, like decided he wanted to start this AI. He announced he's starting this AI-driven website where people can make graphic novels using AI. And his whole pitch on it was like, it takes too long to make comics. Because I guess he had some idea and he wanted to make comics, but it took so long, cost so much money. Because those fucking artists and writers, will cut out the artists and writers, just use AI. And now, the way he puts it is like creators can have like a fully creators. So to him, the creator is the person with the idea.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have that mindset, which is like, of course, it's convenient for people who have no talent. If you can't write or if you can't, draw or whatever, then yeah, you're going to overvalue the having of an idea, because guess what? You wake up every morning with ideas. Everyone has. My grandmother would pitch me ideas, God bless her, but she wasn't a writer.
Ideas are like assholes.
Well, like
everyone has
one.
And yours stinks.
I have a second cousin who was like, took me aside at a family thing once. She's like, she's in New England and all her kids are in ice hockey. And she's like, I have a brilliant idea for you. And she's like, it's a show that takes place in an ice rink. And it's all the characters all the parents and people who take their kids to ice hockey. It's like, yeah, you in your life have encountered some dramatic things and you think that should be a show. That's literally everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody has a work thing or whatever where
I would set mine in a salon.
And by the way, yeah, it could be a show, but that's not like a golden idea that you have. Right. It's a golden idea if it's given to someone who has golden talent and turns it into a golden idea. And that, what I just expressed, is how people like Chris Nolan feel. And so if you pitch something to Chris Nolan, your brilliant fucking pitch isn't going to mean shit to him because he's not going to be looking at the idea. He's not sitting there trading an idea.
Well, yes. But also the part that's the real...
He doesn't know you have talent is what I'm saying.
Yes. I think the idea that if you don't shoot your shot, like what's standing in between you and superstardom is not shooting your shot. And if I say it one more time, I'm going to stab myself. Is a silly idea because that's not really how it works.
Right.
It's sort of like when I wanted to be a child star, and that was the goal. It wasn't to work on my craft. It was like to be in Teen Beat magazine. And we were at South Coast Plaza. I've shared this story before. And one of the Creel twins, Creel triplets walked by.
Oh my God.
Do you know now? Have you heard us talk about who they are? Okay. Leanna, Monica. Shit, what's the third? There's these 3 triplets. We've talked about them on the show. I think 1 or 2 of them were on Saved by the Bell. They were all in a remake of Parent Trap.
Okay.
They were the shit for a little while.
All right.
And I recognized them from my magazines. My mom's like, you should talk to her. And so I'm like, I recognized her and we had a little conversation. But I don't know what I don't know what the end game was. That she's going to be like, I met this girl at 40 Carats in South Coast Plaza. That was the name of a restaurant. Sounds like a jewelry store. But at South Coast Plaza, and I think that my agent should have a meeting with her. Like, I don't know what it's, and also I remember I was were we at the Troubadour? I don't know. Up in LA, maybe at the Troubadour with Paula when I was in the band, and we had these cassettes made, like little for the Angoras. They were cool cassettes, but we saw Leonardo DiCaprio. We're like, we've got to give him one. So we slid one to like his handler, who looked so much like Kevin Connolly. In fact, is Kevin Connolly friends with Leonardo DiCaprio? Because I kind of wonder if it was Kevin Connolly and it wasn't his handler, it was just his friend. But anyway, I don't know what we were expecting to happen from giving our tape to Leonardo DiCaprio.
I mean,
I doubt he listened.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about it. It's like, there's stories, I guess, of people who've been discovered or
rarely,
whatever, but
though.
it's just...
But they're usually going about their business. For example, they're at a mall or they're accompanying a friend to an audition.
Yeah, I just don't know what the expectation is with the Chris Nolan at the grocery store. Like what they think is what they think could possibly come of it.
It's terrible advice.
Even in the best case scenario, even in their fantasy scenario, I'm not sure what it is they think is going to happen. Like, that's great. Here's my agent's number. Call. We'll set up a meeting. Like,
I got to tell you the this week on TikTok for me, and then we need to end the show so that I can go potentially throw up. Okay, so I found myself watching this story that was served to me. Not a story, a TikTok video. And it's this woman who's very scared, saying that her husband, she's like, I need to tell you guys about what's been going on with my husband. He's been acting out of character. And he seems to be having these, and she tells the story, he's like having these grandiose thoughts. And he feels that he has awakened and this and that and that. And all the comments are like, I think the first one I saw was maybe the 3rd in the series. And so I went back to find it. And everyone, and I'm seeing all these comments that are like call the magistrate's office, get him,
Is she in England or something? Where's
no,
magistrate?
I don't know that. I was curious about that too. But like you are in danger. You and your children are in danger. And so then I'm like, what's going on? Like, get the pew out of the house. That's
the gun.
And so I go back and all the comments are like, this sounds like he's having a manic episode. Sounds like he's bipolar. So
It doesn't mean he's dangerous necessarily.
Okay, so that's the first one. And anyway, the story is it's this guy who was having depression and he went on Zoloft, which he ordered online. He was able to get it online from a company. And since taking Zoloft, he is experiencing a break from reality, basically.
Huh.
And he I never found where she said there was a gun in the house, but everyone in the comments seemed to know there's a gun in the house.
Okay.
And they have 2 small kids. She called her mom and her sister, and he had already called them and told them that she was having a break from reality. So they wouldn't talk to her.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a fucking
twist.
That's a twist.
Yeah.
That's a clever move.
Yeah. And then I'm forgetting, but it was like increasingly, and it was getting frustrating because it's like, why are you not and everyone's like, get all the, I think he wanted to take out all the cash to create some, like, he thought he was a character in something and he wanted to do something with the cash. And I think he was like freezing her access to it. And everyone's like, get cash, get a go bag, like, get your children, get the gun out of the house. And she's like, she's not responding enough to what's clearly danger.
That's okay.
It's very like, yeah. So then she posts on there like, I just wanted to let everyone know, things have gotten better. I called his doctor, and and they put him on a suicide watch hold, and I have blah, blah, blah. And then the most recent one is her being like, okay, this went viral.
Yeah.
Not one of them has millions. Most of them have like almost 1 million. Some of them have almost 1 million. And then it's her like letting people know, as many of you guessed, this was a retelling.
What?
I'm a storyteller. So this wasn't happening. This happened like 8 months ago or something. And
she was just doing a reenactment?
Yes. And she's a storyteller and she wants to connect with people. And she was trying to figure out.
Fuck this woman.
Thank you. Yes, that is the reaction of everyone.
Fuck you.
That is the reaction of everyone.
That's not how this shit works, bitch.
I know. So enjoy your
By the
ratio.
way, maybe she's the one who should be locked away.
Well, that is something that people have been saying in the comments as well.
Yeah, like that move, that twisty move he made, maybe that actually wasn't
or maybe
a twisty
this never,
move.
Or maybe
right.
this never happened at all. Like, it's very unclear.
Yeah.
But she keeps referring to it as us. Like, I was trying to find the best way for us to get our...
fuck off.
But she also was like, I never expected... So first she says, I never expected this to reach this many people. I never expected this to go viral.
Okay,
but then later she's like... I was trying to figure out how the best way to tell our story to connect with the most people. And it's like, okay, so you have.
You wanted to connect with the most people. That was an intention.
It's incredibly grandiose to think that this story.
She's the one with the psychological issue.
Maybe they both have them, or maybe this whole.
Well, there's
thing
more
is
evidence
bullshit.
that she does than evidence that he does.
Bullshit. This whole thing is bullshit.
Yeah.
But she wanted to figure out how to help the most people with their story and get their story out there so that it connects to the most people. And it's like, what exactly do you think this story is doing? How is this? She thinks somehow.
Well, her story needs to be shared.
Yeah, that this is educating people.
It's us. We're in this with her.
I I don't know what it is that she thinks most people do when a loved one experiences a break from reality. I think most people recognize that it is urgent and they need to do something about it. I think it's I'm very unclear. I'm not, if this really happened, it's awful and scary and I'm glad everyone's okay and it's something worth talking about. But at the same time, it's not so unique that if people don't know about it, they won't recognize what's happening when it happens to them. You know,
Wow.
I don't know. But at one point, I guess because people keep referring to this in the comments, I guess she's like, I'm a theater kid.
Oh boy.
So the amount of anger at her is so deliciously
Theater
intense.
kids catching strays here.
Yeah. I also think you could have said this is a retelling. There was no need to make it. There was no need to pull a War of the Worlds with it. You know, a lot of people on TikTok will do like, okay, story time.
Right.
And it's just as good. And then people in the comments,
she knew what she was doing.
people in the comments are like, we prevented other people, like this prevented other people from getting the help they need because we were all tying up the lines calling about you. I don't know how they figured out where she was. But
wow.
people were really, really invested.
She could have
Really
immediately
invested.
after that first one, immediately said,
Yeah.
hey.
No,
this
she
is-
was
She
enjoying.
knew exactly what the fuck she was doing.
It's pretty.
She can
it's
fuck off.
manipulative.
She can fuck off.
That's how I feel too. That's how I feel.
Good. I hope she gets dragged.
Oh, she is.
Fuck her. Well, that was a good one. That was a good twat.
I mean, people were really like coming back to it frequently to make sure that she and her kids were okay. So then to find out that the whole thing was, an immersive theater experience they didn't know they were in for, fuck you.
My whole TikTok algorithm is 3 things.
What's that?
So basically only 3 things. One, these silly mewing videos where it's like this like techno music
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a filter that gives you that like Giga Chad jaw and it's sort of amusing to see, but just a million of those. AI dark fantasy videos. Do you see these?
Mm-mm.
Where people have created like a dark, quote unquote, dark fantasy versions of, you know, whatever movie or an animated show. So it looks like it was made in the 70s in the style of dark fantasy. They're neat. And the third one is this guy who is this Japanese kid who goes around and he will give his phone to somebody on the street and they'll video him and he will eat something and he does this ridiculous, it's always exactly the same where he goes, Minasan konnichiwa. Hajimete 7-Eleven. It's this whole thing and it's like this whole
Tony, make that a drop that you can use when Japanese comes out.
Anyway, it's amusing, but that's literally all TikTok
don't
is serving
get
up to
it,
me.
yeah.
What are those 3 things? I'm like, I don't know how to. I want to type in like, okay, those were neat,
Mhm.
but can I see something new?
Oh, that should be a button. Well, listen, I've hit my limit of being able to sit here and not explode out of one of my ends. So I would like to thank everyone for listening. I would like to remind you, I'm on Patreon. I am, at this point, exclusively Patreon supported. You may have noticed not a lot of ads, not a lot of segueing this way and that way. I'm giving you the white label ad-free experience for free. So if you'd like to pay for it, go to Patreon, patreon.com/Alison Rosen. It's so great over there, and I am relying on your support. Thank you for all the people who've stepped up, which is many of you. Thank you. And my Substack. It's juicy and wordy. AlisonRosen.substack.com. Daniel?
You can visit my Substack, Juicy and Wordy. No, it's Daniel Quantz,
All the places.
wherever.
All right. Thank you for listening, everyone. I love you. You matter. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Allison Rosen show.